start.
Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. Today is July 9th, 2023. I'm Doug, your host, and co-host Deb, and Max,
back there.
is over there.
He's scratching himself.
For those of you who have written in and said Max is a better host than me. Anyway, so we're still on Serpo. We're episode 8. Had an exciting week. Debbie got to go to the MUFON meeting.
Yeah,
how'd you like that, Deb?
That was an experience.
You know, Deb had to see what I think she thought I was going on Saturdays to the monthly meeting. I think you thought I was going somewhere else, and then I really wouldn't, going to this.
Yeah,
like going to the bar.
Going to a bar and drinking all day.
Instead, you can't drink at those though. You can't have.
I saw the people drinking.
People had pictures.
They need air conditioning in those meetings.
Yeah, it was a little warm. I'm not really as affected by the warmth as Deb is, but anyway. So we're about, here's the book. I'm going to have Deb show it to you that we're reading, basically going through the book, chapter by chapter, talking about the book. I've had a few more in Facebook, a few more people that have had interests on Facebook, and there's a little discussion as to, we have 2 dogs this week, by the way.
Yeah, there's a little pit bull.
One's at my feet, there's a pit bull, Piper the pit bull. The discussion about Serpo, and one of the topics that came up was how long the journey was, and there's a person, I won't mention them, that say it's. I'm sure they don't listen to the show, but I have probably 100 people that have this interest, this UFO disclosure kind of interest. Anyway, so we talked about Serpo. We were going back and forth. Somebody showed a picture, and it was an alien. It was like an Ebens, but they were with German. It looks like German soldiers. So, so I'm like, I don't know how that would tie into the Serpo story, but. It brought up Serpo, and I mentioned it, and I put our episode 1 up there, and I said, okay, those of you who don't want to trudge through the book, and the reading can be a little dry, and they don't have, I'll break out my own paragraphs, because they don't have paragraphs. It's just a run. I don't know if you've ever see how it's written.
It's written kind of like it was supposed to be from their diary.
Yeah. So with that, it's kind of hard I had to break it out to what Deb's talking about, what I'm talking about. But when it came to how long the trip took from Earth to Serpo and from Serpo to Earth, 10 months was the book. I mean, we read the book, and it was 10 months, right? But we kept trying to figure out why they were, the time that they were discussed in the book wasn't 10 months, and what I think you and I talked about, it was probably suspended, or what I discussed was probably suspended animation, because they were in these egg things.
Well, but the other thing is that their Serpo time is different than our time. So maybe 10 months of our time passed, but not that much of their time. So, because remember, they're there for 13 years.
That's true. But I mean, the time wouldn't be different between 9 minutes and 10 months.
Yeah, that is big. That's a little bit of a difference.
It's a little bit of a discrepancy. So I maintain that they were in suspended animation in these eggs,
right.
And it would tie in directly. And I'll be making a little retort on Facebook, which he won't like, that it's probably suspended animation. They were in the eggs, and they were let out of the eggs a few times.
Well, maybe they were in the ship, and they only remember being, put in the egg and let out of the egg. I mean, that could be dreaming in the middle there. That doesn't really have to be real.
Could be, but I just think that it was 10 months. Yeah. But they were let out of it, and then they were looking at the 3 lights that they were indicator lights, which they knew what 2 of them meant, but they knew the other one was probably we were ready to explode. But they had tubes going into the eggs, and it had to be suspended animation.
I've seen Alien.
You've seen Alien? Yeah, it's just like that. They were in...
And Passengers. Remember Passengers, where he let her out of her egg early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think, and we'll see what the person has to say about that. But that we had to come up with ourselves. They didn't say, they didn't mention that in the book, that it was, we were in the egg and then we were put to sleep. It's like they didn't know what was going on. And they were really groggy. I mean, it's very similar to, you've seen Aliens that she's mentioned. It's the same thing. They're groggy when they get up and, the floor is cold and Sergeant says, do I need to fetch your slippers?
Yes, and you do.
So anyway, we'll fire right up. Episode 8, we're about 2/3 of the way through the book. I finished the book. I read ahead, so I know what's going to happen.
Don't ruin it for everybody.
But we have had comments from people out there that, they appreciate us doing this because the book's a little bit of a dry read.
And we're so entertaining.
We're so entertaining, but at least we throw in all of our fun facts. So you could just listen. You don't have to really fall asleep to the book and fall asleep to us.
That's much better.
Anyway, when we visited, this is episode 8 for Alien Pro Podcast episode 8. When we visited their manufacturing plant, we were amazed at how efficient they were with manufacturing furniture, their helicopter flying devices. We still haven't seen their main spacecraft manufacturing plant. It must be in the far west or south. I'm sure we will visit that place someday.
We still have 7 years, or at least 7 Earth years left. As I mentioned before, we have totally lost track of Earth time. We gave that up many of our years ago. We've gauged our time on Ebens time, which is extremely complex, as I've mentioned before.
Yeah, in the following entry in the commander's diary, we begin to appreciate how an alien invasion could have achieved a technology so advanced.
Civilization, not an...
So advanced that...
Not an invasion. God.
I've got invasion in
No
the brain.
invasion.
It's invasion. Could have achieved a technology so advanced that they can travel through time to distant stars. So you're not going to get that by reading.
No.
Create something as wonderful as the Yellow Book and can clone complex organisms, and yet is not aware of the elementary principles of electricity that would appear to be the essential prerequisites of such technology. Although they seem to get by on a day-to-day basis.
They seem happy. They're good.
But again, there's, as we discussed in the previous episodes, it seems to be a two-class, almost like it's very basic two-class society.
But we're acting like electricity is the only...
Yeah.
It's, electricity. Well, they obviously they have power.
They have their version. Yeah, it's like they don't have electricity. Well, they have some other version. They have anti-gravity.
It's like the people with solar power. Well, if you don't have electricity, you're living in the Stone Age. No, it's power.
Yeah.
If they have power, then they're equal to you.
It's just not like us.
But, there's no big, ugly electrical lines going over every inch of the planet.
Yeah, I know. If you look at what appears to be their planet, there's no wires.
Yeah, so there's nothing better than, going down and seeing, those ugly electrical wires up and down every road.
Yeah, we've had them in the backyard before.
We still have them behind us that with tree branches grown into them that they can't
you cut the tree and it leaves the piece of that's all they can really do is cut both sides of it where it's grown into the line.
So there's just chunks of wood in our backyard hanging in the air. Okay, as with the Ebens doctors who seem to have a monopoly on advanced bioscience, it is probable that the scientists who understand space travel and navigation are also a small elite clique. In other words, the Ebens apparently reserve higher science and technology for a limited few and do not share this knowledge with the masses. Well, it's kind of normal.
Well, it's kind of like what we're doing now with disclosure. There's a certain...
Well, that was pathetic.
The dog is not happy with this. With disclosure, I think there's a government above our government, and it's the same. Well, it's very similar. That only an elite group of people get to know what's going on with this, and selling it back to ourselves.
Only a certain amount of the public is capable of understanding.
Yeah, and we're pushing hard now to get this through Congress and things and legislation to get this disclosure done. And I don't know if I'm I of course would happy to put my hand on a flying saucer, but at the same time when this first came out with Grush,
Just
this
ignore
dog.
it. Just ignore it.
I thought I got kind of excited and then kind of scared at the same time. There's your dog. I don't know what he's doing out there.
Gonna go in the pool and then come in the house.
There may be some things going on that we don't. I mean, interdimensional. I mean, we didn't know the possibilities are endless as to what's going on. Anyway, they may even have initiation rites for these selected individuals. This is reminiscent of ancient Egyptian civilization, where only the high priests were taught hieroglyphics, the language of the
Hierophants? I've never heard of a hierophant. Hieroglyphic hierophant.
Yeah, the hierophants, huh? And of modern America, where advanced science is contained within the classified word of black projects, available only to those who have passed complex background checks and so have been admitted to the rank of the scientific elite.
This seems to be a method of social control and manipulation, not limited to Earth. Yeah, see, everybody does it.
Yeah.
The fact that the sophisticated technology based on advanced physics and chemistry does not trickle down to the masses is exemplified by this statement by Anonymous. The Ebens had no forms of refrigeration except in industry. In other words, the Ebens civilization is basically a military industrial oligarchy.
Oligarchy. The population is divided into two groups: the elite controllers, who jealously guard science and technology. That's kind of like our government above the government. And the masses, who are manipulated and kept in the dark, but to whom are doled out in a highly controlled manner some of the fruits of the advanced technology. They became confirmed when the team learned more about the Eben government, or this became confirmed.
Okay, dogs. The conclusion that the Eben masses are strictly controlled is supported by the following remarks by Anonymous. Although the Eben civilization had no televisions, radios, etc.,
no internet?
They had to talk to each other. Each Eben had a small device belted to their waists. This device gave orders to perform a particular task, news of pending events, etc. It was like an Apple Watch. The device displayed a screen similar to a television screen, but in a 3D style format. Oh, like little people standing on your Apple Watch. Our team brought back one of these devices. I think today we would compare it to a Palm Pilot. I remember those. This parenthetical was made in 2006. Today it would be comparable to a smartphone.
Did you have a Palm Pilot?
I did not. I had friends who did. I was not that organized.
Yeah, I had a Palm Pilot. I didn't really like how it worked. You liked your BlackBerry too, right?
I did love the BlackBerry. That was the first thing I got, because the cell phone was hard to text on, but when you had the BlackBerry, you had a keyboard. That was the first thing I had handheld with a keyboard. Yes, there's chaos down there.
Yeah, but then I remember when the company I was working for moved from BlackBerry to. Is there some other part of this 2,000 square foot house you guys could do this?
No.
That we moved to Apple, and I was all freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, Apple!
I can't do this.
Oh, this is Apple. This is what is this mystery? And then I love Apple though. I love Apple phones. Not crazy about Mac, but Apple phones I like. Anonymous continues: the visitors, the Ebens, since they originally visited Earth, were extremely disciplined in their daily lives. Every visitor worked on a schedule, which was not by a clock, but by the movement of their sun. Each little community had a large tower, which filtered the sun through. When the sun was at a particular point on the tower, it meant the visitors had to do a particular thing. Since they had no planet-wide communications access, the Ebens amused themselves with locally based, simple-minded games and distractions.
Oh, simple-minded to you.
Well, and why do they call them visitors? Well, I guess because they came from another planet.
Yeah,
their planet got
visitors.
destroyed, so are they visitors?
Yeah.
Are we visitors? I don't know.
Anonymous says there were no televisions, radio stations, or anything like that. And you can't quit upsetting me with the thought of no television.
Again, Anonymous is someone that we suspect is a DIA agent,
Right.
operative, that has leaked this he kind of leaked this information and documented, and then taken the the log
Yeah.
of the commander and written it out, and that's how we're getting all this information.
The Ebens played a game something like soccer, but with a larger ball. The object was to kick the ball down a field into a goal. The game had very strange rules and was played for long periods of time. They also had another game, mostly played by the children, that consisted of making formations with groups of Ebens. They seemed to really enjoy the game, but our team found little understanding of the game. So they make a little flower of people over here and a little ball of people over here. We should have
It's
taken
weird.
should have taken their collars off before we did this.
Every Eben, I don't know why they can't go somewhere else to do this. Every Eben was, it's just like they know. Every Eben was issued what they needed. No stores, malls, or shop. Well, we wouldn't have to go shopping.
No
That would
shopping.
be boring. There were central distribution centers where Ebens went to obtain items of need. I mean, did Ebens need toothbrushes?
Kind
Did
of
Ebens need?
like the Handmaid's Tale.
Ooh, all Ebens worked in some capacity.
We learn more about the Eben government from these statements by Anonymous. The Ebens had no single ruler. There was a council of governors, which the team named. This group controlled every single action on the planet. The members of the council seem to have been around for a long time. There were leaders, but no real form of government.
There was thing bouncing down here. This apple's back just cracks me up. There was virtually no crime seen by the team. They had an army which also acted as the police force, but no guns or weapons of any type were seen by our team. There were regular meetings within each small community. There was meetings. It'd be fun to, and they don't really mention, I don't think, what went on
at the meetings?
There was one large, because they can't make any decisions.
I know.
I mean, you bring it to the hierarchy. It's like, they're unhappy. We don't care.
Whatever.
One large community which acted as the central point of the civilization. All the industry was at this one large community. There was no money.
No money.
Interesting.
Evidently, the actions of every Eben were controlled by orders or directions from a central authority via the device worn on the belt and by the movements of the sun. The central authority is apparently an agency of the Council of Governors, so named by the team. This makes the Eben populace almost robotic. It would even be appropriate to use the term enslaved. Oh, they certainly aren't catered to.
I don't know, but they're not, apparently not unhappy.
But
they don't get to be creative. And
there's never any
things.
mention here of what happens if somebody looks at their belt and goes, I say no. I see that
we don't get
to look at the clock tower,
an opportunity to figure that out.
notice the sun is on 5 and go, yeah, I'm not going over to that building right now.
I'm not going to do that.
I'm going to sit here, go to the central distribution center and get my food and do no work. What would happen then?
Yeah. Weird. All their basic needs are met, but they're not really free. Well, according to us.
Right.
By our standards. They live very uniformly Spartan lives. Anonymous says the individual Eben family lived a simple life. I'm just cracking up this thing bouncing up and down. I don't know
What
that
bouncing
even means.
thing?
You'll see.
Oh, okay.
Their homes were constructed of clay, some type of material similar to wood, and some metal. The houses all looked the same. They appeared to be something from the southwest, looking like adobe. The interior of the house consisted of 4 rooms. One sleeping room, where all the Ebens slept in the same room on mats. A food preparation room, the kitchen. A family room, the largest of the house. And a small waste room.
Well, yeah, because they don't really poop, right?
Well, it doesn't mean you don't need room to get in there.
Not only did they
have small waste doesn't mean small waste
a
room.
small waste room, or is it a room for small waste?
It's
We don't know.
maybe the translation.
Not only did they all act and live alike, they also looked alike. Anonymous says that everyone looked the same initially to our team, because we're human and judgmental that way.
Yes.
But after some time, the team members learned to identify different Ebens by their voices.
The picture of Eben civilization that emerges from this information is one that resembles the future society in The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, where the Eli populace were indoctrinated by the Morlocks to believe they were free, but were actually hypnotically controlled to go through robotic activities and to periodically become food for their underground masters.
Well, your meat.
Your meat. Your meat. Your meat.
Your meat. This is also reminiscent of Nazi Germany, where the people were not permitted to listen to foreign radio broadcasts, so they wouldn't be able to learn what life was like outside of Germany, and could thus be controlled by propaganda. At the same time, their elite SS masters were developing space-age technology and advanced society in Antarctica, which the German populace knew nothing about. Well,
but that's again another story.
I mean, but I don't think it wasn't that these people weren't allowed to listen to other radio communications. They're kind of out of range.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
were the elite listening to our broadcasts?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, what?
I mean, in the English was close. It's not like they're out of range. The English are right across the channel. They should be able to hear what they're saying. They weren't that far. Anonymous answered some of the questions that were sent in to the website after it was launched in November 2005. The following information was given in answer to a question about the even population. And it goes, why does the even population number only about 650,000? Do they have, they count them? They have what do they call it?
Census?
A census.
Everybody stand still and let me count
their little box.
When you can't
they
tell,
just count the boxes. They know the boxes.
They can't tell them apart. So
I wonder if they have to sleep with those boxes on. Interesting.
They don't talk about clothes, whether they strip down, bathe. Do they bathe? Do they clean? Do they,
No, we haven't made it all the way through. We may find out. And how do they have sex?
Yeah, see, that's if they're all in one room, it's got to be very uncomfortable.
They don't care. They're not like us. The Ebens have a very stable, structured civilization. Each male has a mate.
Oh.
They are allowed to reproduce. Well, that's nice.
Okay.
They're allowed to reproduce in somewhat the same sexual way we do. I'm surprised this didn't go off in some weird...
Yeah, I know.
But are limited to only a specific number of children. Our team never saw a family with more than 2 children, and that could be a thing. Overpopulation.
They've already
population control.
They've already had to move to a new planet, right?
What would it be like if you could only have 2 kids? I mean, or be
limited, be actually.
Because you didn't desire
I could
to
give
have
mine
children.
To somebody else.
You could okay, you can have 4 because I don't want any.
Yeah, I don't think it works that way. Ask China.
Yeah, it's going sideways over there fast.
Yeah, they're running out of people. Their population's now old.
Yeah.
The Ebens civilization was so structured that they planned the birth of each and every child, spacing them apart to allow the proper social grouping of the civilization. Eben children matured at a super rate compared to Earth children. Our team watched live births attended to by an Eben doctor and then watched the development of the child over a period of time. They matured at an alarming rate. That's really mature to structure the birth rate so that you don't have more than you can take care of. Again, they're already on a new planet because there was a problem with their planet.
Well,
right?
The problem was got destroyed by volcanic.
But they know that there's limited. You've only got so many resources, and you don't want 20 children today and none for 5 years. You want to kind of space them out.
So, do you agree or disagree with this?
Well, it sounds smart. It's it doesn't fit in with the morality of the American way of life. You can't control that in any way. But it seems to make sense that it wouldn't be responsible for each and every person to only have as many children as the world can handle.
Who gets to decide that? I mean, that's the thing.
Well, there should be, we should kind of know.
Oh, but we should kind of know a lot of things.
I know. But, people...
Yeah.
People are selfish in that, I want what I want, then maybe you should not, you don't have any, but I want this many. It's like putting out a free bowl of candy. How's that
for
work?
Halloween. That's a good analogy. You put that bowl of candy, just two each, please. And you get this guy's just emptying the whole thing into their sack.
And then you got the kid that just walks off with the bowl.
He takes the bowl too.
I like this bowl.
You didn't say anything about the bowl.
Yeah.
They even had scientists and technicians. There was one educational facility on the planet. If one was chosen, you attended the facility and learned the job one was best qualified and suited for. Although it was extremely difficult to judge or measure, the team estimated each Ebens IQ to be 165.
Well, probably because they had no television.
They're smart because they don't have any TV. They actually had to think.
They had to actually
didn't
talk
have
to
have
each
things
other.
like told to them about how,
They didn't watch 8 hours of Is It Cake?
Is it cake?
It's on Netflix. It's really good.
Who's the host? What's that guy's name?
Oh, he's one of the Saturday Night Live guys. Mikey Day.
Oh, really?
Mikey Day, yeah. He's funny.
I don't know why it's entertaining, but it is.
Oh, check it out. It's fun.
This is check your brain at the door entertainment.
That's right. This information further substantiates the conclusion that the Council of Governors exercise complete authority and control over every aspect of Eben life. There appeared to be no appeal from their decisions. It was absolutely dictatorial, and yet the team estimated that most of the Ebens were extremely intelligent.
The novel concept of individual liberty has not yet come to Serpo. They were all expected to work, and the fruits of their labor accrued primarily to the ruling class. Deprived of any leisure, they were not able to produce artistic or creative works to entertain or enlighten each other. And I bet we're pretty judgmental about this. They appear to be, why?
So they didn't paint or sculpt, but they must have had some kind of artistic...
They danced.
Did they?
You'll hear.
Okay, cool. Okay. The world they inhabited was grim and gray, and yet we can dimly perceive the seeds of rebellion in EBE5, who was, quote, the Eben Einstein who followed the team around. Apparently, he began to appreciate the concept of liberty in the actions of the team members and wanted to know more about their principles of freedom. Oh, are we going to ruin them?
Well, this is why the Enterprise, there's a lot of, like you were at the meeting yesterday when they talked about Star Trek actually had its roots in someone that told Gene Roddenberry, I've never heard the story before yesterday, about how, don't shake your head in disbelief. These are my people, man. That they were told about how they, Gene Roddenberry was told about how these different alien races were around. And so this is how he designed all the different races from the Star Trek series.
Dogs.
But they said more. They talked a little bit more about, a little bit more about how that it was more applied to the, and they were talking about DS9, Deep Space Nine. But
Go.
Anyway, it's, they're not free. They're not. Anyway, so what I was really trying to get at was this is kind of like the Star Trek concept where they're not supposed to, the what's that, they have that term where they're not supposed to have contact with
lesser civilizations. Because they will change the trajectory of their future.
You remember the episode where in the originals, the Prime Directive, exactly. You remember the episode where they went to the planet and they accidentally left something there, and then they came back and the thing, or they left something or one of the people, and then they came back and all of a sudden it was like Chicago 1920. Yep. It was the whole planet.
Yep. They changed history, which they're not supposed to do.
So I mean, I don't know. My concern would be that we would try to convince these guys, what are you doing? You should be painting. What are you doing? You should be sculpting. Yeah. What are you doing? This isn't the right way to do this.
Where's your leisure time?
What do you guys do with, when you're not,
we love our leisure
working.
time.
This excerpt from a later diary entry by the commander reinforces the view that Eben society was strictly controlled.
At one of our team meetings recently, 203 and myself decided to give up the military greetings. Oh, okay. Saluting that each member, military greetings saluting that each member gave the first time they saw us.
I would have given up that pretty quickly, too.
I decided we maintain our military bearing and manners, but we will give up the saluting. Each team member agreed. I had no problem with that. The Ebens just stared at us when we did that. This is like the Seinfeld episode where Jerry decided he no longer wanted to say hi to people in his building every time he saw them. It was chaos.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like that.
He just walked right by him?
Yeah, he said he was tired of the greetings.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know the saluting, and it's, well, you can tell who's in charge by whoever's louder and giving the orders. Kind of like the Eben.
Yeah.
The Eben leader is taller and is gruff.
Right.
So, but they also have their greetings. But do they say hi, Deb? Ebens exchange greetings depending on the time of day. Oh, you got to change it.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Oh,
good
like
evening.
that? They hug on certain times, touch fingers on other times, and bow at other times.
Wow.
We still haven't figured out why they do that. Why don't you ask?
They did.
EBE2 just explained it was a formal greeting method.
Ebens live a very strict life. They keep a regimented lifestyle. We have seen some variances, but only by a few. The military keeps everyone in line. The military acts as a police force. As I mentioned before, they do not carry any weapons, but they do have different uniforms, and every Eben respects that uniform.
The military are patrolling all the time. They walk in pairs and seem to be extremely friendly, but can be very strict. We saw two Ebens walking across the field. Two military members quickly approached the two Ebens and pointed to a building. The two Ebens walked to that building with military members. The military members were yelling something at them.
Oh, no.
Wow. They lost their decorum there.
Yeah.
Huh? At the time, neither 420 or 475 were available for translation. But I figured those two Ebens violated some custom or law.
It's like 200 pounds of dog just ran into me.
Yeah.
We have been warned by the military when we approach something that we are not supposed to approach. The military are very respectful when they deal with us, but they won't allow us to violate any of their customs or laws without warning us. When we first killed one of the sand snakes, we had 6 military members. Oh, I just saw that thing bounce up.
Yeah.
That is bizarre.
That's back.
It's like, when we first killed one of the sand snakes,
It's
we had...
trying to tell us something. I don't know what it is.
Great.
It's
We
not
had
going to stop.
Oh, no, don't make
You
us
need
do
your
this
update right
again.
now. We got to thread it together.
We had 6 military members at the scene in no time. It took a great deal of diplomacy to deal with that situation, but the military never touched us or threatened us.
The Ebens have adjusted to us just as we have adjusted to them. We carry on our mission, and they allow us to do just about anything.
Don't kill the sand snakes.
The one forbidden act is not to enter a private living house.
Well, duh.
Living house. We did that once and was politely escorted out by the military.
Yeah, don't be walking in people's houses.
Walking in, doing the wiggy wiggy. It's like, whoa, that's how I figure out how they do it.
There seems to be more military than are actually needed. They do have weapons, as I mentioned before. I thought they didn't have weapons. We rarely see any military member with those weapons. Oh, okay, there are, because they said the military didn't carry weapons. But we have seen them during the alert that occurred some time ago. Did we get to know about this?
Yes.
EBE2 came into our living compound just after one of our rest periods. EBE2 was excited and told us to stay inside and not to exit our living quarters. We asked why, and EBE2 said that an unknown spacecraft had entered their planet's orbit. But EBE2 assured us that the military would take care of the problem. We naturally went into our own alert. We issued our weapons and stood by to guard our living area. We violated her instructions and went outside. Oh,
Do what I want. F you, I do what I want. We watched the skies and saw a lot of air traffic. We then saw all the military members with weapons and something that looked like field packs. They were in full fighting gear, as 899 called it. The alert didn't last very long, and EBE2 came back, looked at us a little curious, and told us everything was all right, and the alert was over.
We asked her if the unknown spacecraft was identified. She said it wasn't a spacecraft, just a natural piece of space debris, and left it at that. Yeah, it's just a balloon. We didn't believe her, but we had no way of knowing any difference. We returned to our normal routines.
So she basically lied to them.
Yeah.
Or she didn't know. She was told
That's
that.
all
Because that's
she
what she
knows,
was
yeah.
told. Kind of like our, sounds just like
That's
Earth.
right. Just right.
With this, it's not that much different. With this new information from the team commander, we are now justified in referring to Serpo Society as a police state. When he says the military keeps everyone in line, the military are patrolling all the time, we can reasonably conclude that the police state designation is appropriate. It's unfortunate that we are not told how the ruling class lives, but we can presume that their lifestyle is far more commodious, perhaps even luxurious.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Since the doctor...
It's like what Bill Burr described when he was going through the deli, and why do you people keep making me put my own food together? And he worked his way up the chain to the top of Circle K or whatever, and he's in the penthouse where all the weird, I would say I won't mention on this show, things were happening. So that's what the bunch of Ebens are up there.
They're up there where all the
They're
good stuff.
Eben hookers.
That's right. EB2 does not want to hear about that. Since the doctor in the biomedical building spoke perfect English, and he was clearly a member of the upper class, we now know that they are very well educated, especially about Earth matters. But from what we have learned so far, our team was not permitted to meet them. No penthouse for our people.
Oh, that's a bummer. You couldn't ask. How's the other half live?
Yeah.
We're doing a study. We need to see everything.
We would like to go hang out with the elite people where the good stuff is.
They're up there and they all look like Hitler, Eben Hitler.
They're little Eben cocaine.
Eben Kane. Evidently, tyranny and enslavement exist in many worlds in our Milky Way. We can clearly see that this would have been our fate too if the fascists had won World War II. Now, as we begin to venture out onto the cosmos, we must take it upon ourselves to embark on a mission to bring the blessings of liberty to the oppressed people throughout our galaxy. It's the right thing to do.
Oh, great. Now we're liberating the
universe.
It's
kind of like, do they even want this? When we go and do these things, like
we want everybody to be like us.
It's like, I hate to get political, but Afghanistan, the Russians went in, and we went in. Why do you living like this? You could have candy bars anytime you want it, and you could eat all the time. They're in good, you look at, I don't want to say they're skinny, but they seem to be in good health.
No,
you ever see it?
No.
We're over there and they're in shape.
Well, they have to work.
Yeah. They have to work.
They farm and do
not just sit around
labor.
and watch TV and eat.
Yeah.
So we're going in there.
We'll give them McDonald's.
I'm going to get a lot of pushback.
And Taco Bell.
Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of pushback. I may get some pushback on this, but...
Hi.
And I welcome it. This just isn't the best way. You got some dogs, don't you? Quit. Don't acknowledge them and they'll go away.
No, they won't.
So we want them to... So I kind of disagree. We go into Afghanistan. Well, we didn't win there either. I don't know what we were trying to... We wanted them to... It's kind of funny because they mentioned this, and this is precisely...
We want everybody to be like us. That's who we are.
Yeah.
We go over and colonize whatever we want.
I mean, I like the fact that the lifestyle could be better and live like this, where you're comfortable. And
what you know is what you know.
And I don't know. Were they unhappy?
If everybody just shuts up.
I mean, were they enslaved? If they're enslaved, that's something else. You know what I mean? If they're in shackles.
Yeah.
And we're liberating people that were enslaved. But
your girl's back there on the couch now. So.
Okay. She got bone?
Yeah.
We'll just have to hear that now.
Yeah, you can listen to the sound of chewing for a while. Thomas Jefferson would have encouraged us to become the liberators of galactic societies subjugated by tyrants. Really? Perhaps the man kept slaves. Perhaps if in the near future William Shatner were elected president of the United States, we might be able to join our space brothers in the Galactic Federation in their quest to restore, protect, and advance freedom throughout the galaxy. Certainly it would be a highly valued asset with Captain Kirk at the helm.
But he wouldn't be, they forget when they say this, and this was written much later after they got back, but it's precisely what we're not here to do.
Right.
We're here to, help them if they need it.
They were there to observe, not...
Yeah, we're not to make them us. It's like, you need it. That's really a bad thing.
Yeah, they didn't restructure. They just observed.
In answer to a question submitted to the website, and the website, serpo.org, if anyone wants to go there, much to Deb's fun and enjoyment, because there's going to be 44 episodes. No, there's not going to be 44 episodes. If somebody could throw a tomato at their screen. There's at the conclusion of the book, I'll be going to the website, and then there's also some commentary from different people like Rick Doty, who's my Rick Doty is my new Facebook friend.
That's
and
nice.
He's
very
big,
nice.
and it's probably not really Rick Doty, is it?
You make
Rick,
that
I hope it's
decision.
really you. Anyway, there's some commentary from Rick and other people as to this trip. In answer to a question submitted to the website, Anonymous says, as to the Eben culture, they had a form of musical entertainment. See, you happier now?
See, they did.
The music sounded like tonal rhythms. This would make Deb crazy. I can already see it. They also listened to a type of chanting. The Ebens were dancers. They celebrated certain work periods with ritual dance. The Ebens would form a circle and dance around, listening to the chanting type of music. The music was played on bells and drums, or something similar to them. And do they seem unhappy?
See, that doesn't sound bad. From the commander, we learned more about how Ebens have fun. We had a feast today. What a feast. We used our last sea rations, but the Ebens didn't really care for our food. We did kill a beast. As I mentioned before, the Ebens allowed us to kill the beast for meat. The meat isn't really bad. $8.99 it says it tastes like bear, which I never ate. But Ebens look at us very strange when we eat meat. Well, because it's kind of barbaric.
Should have cloned a cow.
So bring some cow cells with you.
So we can grow some cows so we can eat them.
Need to grow a cow.
We need protein. Strange that they can clone creatures on other species of humans, but they can't eat meat. Well, how strange they are, but they do. But they allow us to do just about anything we want. They keep saying this, and eating meat is something we need for protein.
We used the last of our salt and pepper.
Oh no!
Which does make eating the food more of a challenge. The Ebens don't have anything similar to salt and pepper. They do have an herb, as we call it, something like oregano, which they use. It has a tart taste, but we have developed a taste for it. The feast was great. We participated in the dances, which the Ebens really like. Oh, they were laughing at you. They get great pleasure dancing and playing their strange games. I described the games before, but at this feast, we saw something different. We saw something different.
The game was played like chess, but with Ebens standing on a large square area of the compound. The squares were divided into 24 sets. Each set had another 2 spots. Just how or why the Ebens moved was a mystery to us. One of the Ebens would say a word, and then another Eben would move, and then another Eben would beat him to death. Oh, no, I didn't see that.
This isn't Squid Games.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. No, that didn't happen. So it appeared that it was a team game. Well, that's good. They're team players. That's right. There's no I in team. 6 Ebens on each side. There's no I in Eben either. We couldn't figure it out, but at the end, the Ebens danced with each other, signifying a victory, we think. It was a fun day, just like when you get the touchdown dance. And you get everybody in the corner, then you get their picture taken.
Right. And more from Anonymous. Our team brought along softball equipment for sporting activity.
Oh, heck yeah.
The Ebens would watch the game and laugh out loud. The Eben laugh sounded like a high-pitched yell.
Yeah.
Eventually, the Ebens started playing the game, but never got used to catching the ball before it hit the ground. They're like me.
Couldn't you train them?
They mean catch.
That's why you don't. If I throw the frisbee at you, you're like, throw your hands up.
Stop.
Am I supposed to catch that?
No, I'm not catching it.
It'll hurt my hand.
That's what dogs are for.
Our team also played touch football. Oh, the
great.
Ebens versus the humans.
No.
Again, the Ebens watched the game intensely and then played it themselves. But again, like softball, the Ebens never figured out how they had to catch the football before it hit the ground. But it's kind of like, okay, you don't use them. Okay, they're not receivers.
No.
Okay, you just don't use them as receivers.
Catch.
They just play the line.
Never mind.
They're not going to catch it. They're not going to get any interceptions.
It's funny that you could never. I mean, at least
they have big, long fingers.
At least little kids usually at least understand a basket catch.
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Although our team members honored the privacy of the Ebens, our team was allowed to witness births. So no sex, just birth. Because that's what we're trying. Our team snooping around was able to... Oh no.
I gave this segment to you on purpose.
Our team snooping around was able to capture the sexual activity of the Ebens. That's just... The males and females had similar sexual organs and performed intercourse. The frequency of sexual activity was not recorded as being as often as in our society. It was believed they performed the act for pleasure and reproduction.
Just not as much as humans. How do they gauge that?
Maybe when you guys aren't around, they do.
Yeah. How do you know?
It's like, look, I see a peeping Tom in the window. Let's not do it now.
Well, and, it's kind of like humans. Some people do it a lot. Some people don't, Maybe they've been married a long time. I don't know. Who's to say? The team commander continues his narration about the feast day. My team played softball with some hard-nosed Ebens. Oh, yeah. Who have learned the game. So these guys could catch, huh? Uh-huh. Well, for the most part, they still haven't figured out they have to catch the ball before it hits the ground. You've got to be able to train them to do that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
They had high IQs. Why can't they figure out how to catch a ball?
Maybe they don't want to hurt their hands.
But, yeah, they had long fingers. Maybe they break easy.
Yeah.
But they had fun. We have found some extremely gifted athletes among the Ebens. Then again, we found some who had no athletic ability, just like humans.
Just like us. They're just like us. Our softball game ended when the rains came. Oh, damn, rain delay. We ended up inside the community building. We finished our meals and went to our living area. As we do each day, we have our end-of-day briefing. We check each other for psychological condition and medical health. Our day ends when we start our 8 hours of rest. You crazy?
You crazy?
Are you crazy yet?
I'm not crazy. Are you crazy?
Got COVID yet?
We have given up Earth time. Ebens said this is another thing about this. Yeah, we talked about the flight.
Yeah.
There. Ebens have a different period of time. As I mentioned before, they rest about 4 hours for every 10 hours working time. But we must consider that their hour is longer and that their days are longer. So we stop using our time, we use the even time. It's difficult to understand this is only a diary, but this is only a diary.
Yeah.
Once I return to Earth, I can explain the time difference and how we had to use it instead of ours. And I have a big problem. This is one other thing that I have a big problem with, other than this battle I'm having with this Facebook person. But how could they not figure out I think you're going to hear later on how they lost track of time. Can't you figure out that? How can you not figure out? You've got in the beginning. They had our watches, our time, there for a long time. How could you not figure out that when the sun comes up and comes down is equal to a certain amount of our hours easily?
Yeah.
It's almost like
But the sun never really goes down.
It goes low.
Okay.
It goes low at the same time every day, though.
Okay.
So when it's this, maybe you just write how many times of theirs is, and then you do simple math. Maybe they don't have calculators, but you can still do simple math, manually.
I think it's kind of like when you travel back east. After a certain amount of time, you quit looking at your watch going, well, if we were home, it would be noon, but it's 3 here.
But why could they? They stayed 3 years longer than they had to because they couldn't figure this out.
Yeah, well.
That is really... The other thing is, why were they not able to communicate with Earth about things? They never mentioned that through this whole book, that they called Earth, like we talked about before, and you call once a month, once a week.
Right.
It gives us our status. Somebody died.
You think there'd be some kind of alert to let them know it is time to come home.
It's almost like they weren't able to communicate. It's like, okay, well, what's the date?
Maybe they weren't getting...
How long have we been here?
Maybe they weren't getting their messages.
Yeah.
Secretaries can be really bad about that.
Oh, so we don't use that word. Assistants.
I keep writing about the time in every diary entry, but it is important to note that even though we have been here for about 3 years, Earth time, we have given up Earth time and utilized the Eben time. We tried to use their 2 suns as a counting system, but that didn't work. We then tried to use our own watches, but that didn't work. So we just gave up our timepieces and used the Ebens time tower.
Yeah, and a huge problem with that. I mean, it's like, even I would do that. I mean, I'm not a genius. I would be able to figure out, I'm not staying here 1 minute longer than I have to.
I want to go home.
So we better figure out how much time's going. And if they're allowed to just go, at what point were they allowed to go?
Maybe they
time's up. It's 3. You stayed here 3 years. And
yeah.
why don't they figure it out? It's like, look, it's like the 3-day rule when you're visiting.
Yeah.
I'm not staying here one more day we don't want you here.
Yeah,
snooping around one more day than you have to.
You'd think there would have been some kind of signal, but
yeah, it's just I've a little uneasy, skeptical about this part of it. I mean, there's always in every story there's always a reason, I guess, but each village has one
time tower.
Did I skip anything?
No, you didn't.
Okay. As one time tower, it's easy to understand the symbols. Each symbol means a certain time and a certain work period. The time situation was complex because it related to the way Serpo revolves around Zeta Reticuli 1 while it was influenced by Zeta Reticuli 2. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, one day is
while your watch is still
22
working.
22 Earth hours went by.
Yeah.
In one of their days. Okay, genius. Yeah.
They just got so involved in their job.
Oh no! You would think once you land, the clock's ticking. 10 years. That's it.
I'm going home. Here's what Anonymous says about the time problem.
Yeah, you tell us.
Okay, I'm telling you. Our scientists had the same question as posed by your audience. Our scientists questioned our team members and the information they gathered. Our scientists could not understand how the orbit of Serpo could revolve around the 2 suns at the distance measured. In the end, our scientists found that some things relating to that particular system was different in physics compared to our system.
2 words. Who cares? Just do the math.
Just figure it out. Get home on time.
How come it's not the same?
Maybe they all had angry wives and they just didn't want to come home.
No, nobody was married.
Oh.
No one had a significant other. They didn't have any relatives, I don't think, or anything weird like that. Well, anything like that. There were some questions about how our team measured the orbit and other calculations. Yeah, I had lots of questions based on their lack of a stable time base. For some reason, I don't think this was ever determined. Our time instruments did not work on Serpo. Now, considering this, you can understand the difficult job our team members had of making calculations without time. Well, if their timepieces simply failed to work, that's a different story.
Right, if they just
maybe now that's the reason. It's like they didn't have, but if again, that one
So somebody had to bring a wind-up clock.
Yeah, well, they had to assume that maybe, or they could invent something. They could talk to even scientists and go, we need to
they could just
find a way to...
They could one Mississippi it.
Well, yeah, but it's like, again, let's say it's 22 hours per cycle. You call it a cycle.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the day till the beginning of the day again, you just draw a stick on the wall. Okay, that's one day. Like they do in prison.
Exactly. They had to come up with an alternate method to measure speeds, orbits, etc. Challenge. Try solving a problem in physics without being able to measure time on Earth. So you see, our team did the best they could. Yeah, Doug. With the instruments they had
I don't think they did.
And the hardships they developed attempting to make scientific calculations. Doug.
The other thing is maybe they weren't... The only thing could be, since they had 2 suns, maybe one day, the cycle, as I say, what would be a 24-hour cycle here, maybe it's not always the same. Yeah. Because they had 2 suns.
Yeah, now they're orbiting all weird. It just said the orbit doesn't make sense.
My theory goes out the window in that case because, all is it seemed to be consistent though the way they were doing. Otherwise, how you'd be working too long or resting too long. It is difficult for any Earth-based scientist to understand the different physics in other solar systems or on other planets. One of the questions sent to me involved Kepler's law of planetary motion. Our team, you'll have to stay awake through this. Our team had that information. We had some of the best military scientists on the team. But if you consider Kepler's law, it requires time, and our team could only measure time in the conventional way. It was determined that Kepler's laws did not apply to that solar system. Doug.
See, Doug.
Doug was correct in that.
Conclusion. One of the things our Earth-based scientists learned was not to apply Earth's laws of physics in a universal way. See?
Thank you.
I don't know how to apply.
See?
I don't know how to apply Earth's laws of physics in any way. So
you stick your tongue out of
there,
me.
Doug.
Anonymous says further on this subject.
Go.
Regarding time, the team members brought several timepieces. For example, wristwatches, non-battery style. Okay.
Yeah. See.
As it's stated in the debriefing data, the timepieces worked, but they had no reference of time since the even days were longer and the dusk and dawn periods were longer, and they had no calendars to reference.
Nobody even brought a calendar.
They did not use the timepieces to calculate movement. For example, timing. I'm sorry, they did use the timepieces. I'm just getting hung up on the same thing. Why did they not?
Why?
They did not. They did use the timepieces to calculate movement. For example, timing the movement of the Ebens two suns. I still say the same thing. You just do the math.
Well,
one day is 22 hours. And it's like, okay, now we've been here this amount of time.
they also.
And if I'm leaving too early, too bad. We're out.
You are just out of there.
10 years.
They also calculated
5 years.
I know. So you don't like to leave town for a week. So.
Yeah. I'm not a huge trouble.
They also calculated the time between work and rest periods. What the hell was going on down there? But after a while, the team discarded their timepieces and used the Ebens measurement of time periods. The team became confused with the calendars they brought, which was a 10-year calendar.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Anyway, after 24 months, how did the team lost track of time? As to the calendar, since they could not properly calculate days compared to Earth days. They set up one large clock in the Earth time when they left. However, this is a battery-controlled clock.
Well, that was stupid.
And when the battery died, the clock stopped, and they forgot to change the battery time. I'm just not...
Consequently, they lost to the Earth time. The team brought a large quantity of batteries, but they ran out after about 5 years. The Ebens had no comparable item like batteries.
Again, math. I just don't get it. Noted Cornell astronomer Carl Sagan was consulted about the planetary motion of Serpo that contributed to the timing difficulties. About this consultation, Anonymous says, one of the principal home-based scientists, astronomer, contracted to assist us was Dr. Carl Edward Sagan. Ooh. Initially, he was the biggest skeptic of the group, but as information was slowly analyzed, Dr. Sagan came back to the middle. I can't say he fully accepted every single piece of data, but he did agree on the final report.
Email moderator Victor Martinez supplied the following fast facts about Carl Sagan's involvement in the program on the website. He was born in Brooklyn, New York on 11/9/34 and died in Seattle, Washington on 12/20/96 of bone marrow cancer. Ow. Yeah. He was an American astronomer, educator, and planetary scientist, and was the director of the Laboratory for Planetary Studies at Cornell University.
Project Serpo's final report was written in 1980 with Dr. Carl Sagan having been brought in halfway through the project. It's believed that he's a dog toy, that he wrote his 1985 bestseller, Contact, based on his insider knowledge of the most secret project in human history, a human-alien exchange program, of which he signed off on in his final report. Years later, his book was made into a 1997 movie, Contact, starring Jodie Foster.
Where are you?
At the top. You're at the top.
Okay. Sagan became well known as a result of his public debate in 1969 with Dr. J. Allen Hynek, we've all heard of him, sponsored by the American Association for the Advancement of Science, about whether or not UFO investigations should be considered serious science. Sagan argued that it was pseudoscience, and he was proclaimed the winner.
At this point, we're going to wrap up episode 8, which doesn't coincide to any of the episodes of the book, of the chapters, I should say. So yeah, we're about 3/4 of the way through.
Okay.
We'll pick it up. Next couple of weeks, we've got, I think Matt's coming on the next couple of weeks, or we'll do an episode 9. We'll see how it comes to. But anyway, thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Check out our website, alienprobe.net. Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Check us out. Like and subscribe. YouTube at the Alien Probe Podcast. Thank you, Deb. I appreciate it. And we will see you again on the next time.